All right, so Becky Waterhouse, what do you do?
What do I do? So I am an artist and a community organizer. So I specialize in illustration and painting, doing a lot of public artworks, and my community organizing takes the shape of being a co-director at Common Folk Artists Collective, and I also help organize the North Adams Artist Impact Coalition, which is sort of a larger collective of arts and cultural organizations in North County.
What's it called again?
The Artist Impact Coalition.
Got it. So how did you get involved with both groups?
So I joined Common Folk in 2017 after I graduated from MCLA. And I joined just because I had some mutual friends who were involved in the group, and I had seen all of the activities they were doing downtown and felt it was a really important presence for North Adams to have a creative community. So I finally joined when I had the time to, and since being involved, I've sort of moved into more responsibilities and taken on administrative roles to see it into the future. And then through the work with Common Folk is how I joined the Artist Impact Coalition, because that was only formed a couple of years ago. So I joined as the Common Folk representative. And as I got more involved in that, it was sort of a similar story of just gaining more responsibilities, because I just really believe in the mission of working together and sharing resources with other people. And both groups do that. So, yeah.
So what's your connection to the Berkshires?
My connection to the Berkshires. So I did not grow up here. I came here to go to MCLA. So I would say I'm one of those college students that decided to stay, and I know that's been a hope for a lot of people, is how to get MCLA students to stay in the area. So yeah, after I graduated, I stayed because I started to get so involved in these creative organizations. And I live in North Adams. Maybe that's a shorter way of saying my connection to the Berkshires.
So what drew you to the Berkshires that made you want to stay?
That's a really good question. When I first got here, it was challenging for me to see myself staying here because there weren't a lot of it was a more rural area than from where I had grown up, but the more I stayed and the more I got involved in things, I realized that there's a beauty in that ruralness here, that like we have a pretty close-knit community, and it's easy to suggest things, and a lot of people are ready to help you see different ideas and projects grow. And that kind of energy I knew I probably wouldn't find in other places, or I hadn't found it in other places. So I really value that about the Berkshires. I think that's what made me stay.
I'm gonna look back here at my questions. So you kind of answered this a little, but why do you think connections between artists is important?
Yeah, I think it's really important because there are so many similar needs across the board, like space and supplies and connecting with people, that to try and go at solving those problems alone is just like making it more challenging. And so to be able to come together and share all of the resources, it just benefits everybody. And I think also a lot of artists come to the area from a lot of different places. And in addition, there are people who've lived here for a long time that are seeing an arts community grow and bubble, but they don't really know where they can get into it. And so by connecting all of those people, you start to make the ecosystem a little stronger. So people aren't just like kind of at random trying to figure things out. You can learn from each other and share what maybe someone's already tried and found out hasn't worked or things like that.
So I'm working for the Adams Theater, as you know, and do you know about the Adams Theater or have any connections to it?
So I saw an article posted that it was happening and got really excited. I don't know too much about it. I know that it's still in development and is going to be built on that main street in Adams, if I'm correct, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, and I know that the theater wants it to be really integrated in the existing community. But beyond that, I actually don't know too much about it.
Yeah. So the Adams Theater, we're trying to make it a space for artists of like any kind to come in and be able to present their work or do something fun. Like it's not just a theater for like performances, you know, on the stage, like plays and musicals and things like that. Like it's for musicians as well, and for well, what do you think, since you work with visual artists and you're a visual artist, so how do you think we could integrate that kind of work into the theater?
That is a really good question. I think there is definitely a need for a space for like presenting projects and ideas. And there are some venues in town, but they aren't as geared towards different art forms. But I do also think there is a strong need, because I work with musicians, and like within the collective we have musicians and dancers and performers and stuff too, and I do think there's so many galleries in town and studio spaces, but there aren't a lot of like performing arts spaces that are multi-use. There's like music venues, but there's nowhere for performance to take place, if that makes sense, except for Masmoka. But what is really exciting, I think, about the Adams Theater is that it's not connected to the museum as like a strong institution. It's kind of its own thing that can support the community, and be like part of the community and like have an ownership with the community. So, but to go back to your original question about visual artists, yeah, I mean, I guess if there are spaces like in the lobby to hang artwork for like a rotating presentation of work by people who live in the community, I think having spaces for people to just meet and have like art critiques or things like that, because we have this space here in North Adams, but there was an art council in Adams for a while. I don't know if they're still active. I think they were functioning out of the Firehouse Cafe. I'm probably totally misremembering all of this, but just to say, I think like an open space for people to utilize creatively in Adams would be of great benefit there, because I think those spaces only exist currently up here in North Adams. I could be wrong, but that's kind of my take. Yeah.
So, like in general, then, like what else would you like to see in the theater? Like, performances or anything?
Let's see. I think definitely like more theater art to happen, because I only ever see that at Mass MoCA or in like makeshift spaces. Like there aren't a lot of spaces that are outfitted to have full sets and like the full flies on the side and everything to like really put that on, because I know there are theater artists here that wish that there was a place to do things like that. I think, let's see. I think like different film showings would be really cool, because there also isn't really activity of that. I mean, there is in Williamstown at Images, but not really like on this side of Mount Greylock.
One idea we had that a lot of people liked was a silent film, and then a live musician could play music to it.
Yes, and I've gone to one of those like back where I grew up in Rochester and love it. That's a really good idea. Yes, definitely.
I think that would definitely draw in.
Definitely, yeah, because people can go see movies in other places, but to have like a live musician, that would be amazing. Yeah, and I think just like any opportunity for outside groups to have access to it. Like I think for schools to be able to do shows there would be really cool, because I mean I don't know too much about the school districts here, but I imagine it's probably challenging to put on performances and get people to come like at the school, but if they could do them in town, like that would be really amazing.
Yes. With my school, like we have to share our performance stage with our gymnasium. So it's really, we don't really have a functioning theater.
Right, yeah. So to have like a dedicated space that you don't have to share with the gym, like, yeah, that would be awesome. I wish I had more ideas, but it's like, I think I'm just so excited about there being a theatrical performance space when we already have venues for so many other art forms. It's hard to imagine like what else it could do, because I think that alone fills such a need in North County.
People will probably come to us and say like what they want to do.
Yeah, right. Yeah.